Hey guys, Ranger here, and welcome back to another reaction review. And this is to the sixth episode of MLP, which is Common Ground. I have no idea what this episode is focusing on or who, but I saw like one thumbnail that showed two female characters, one regular, like the main six, and it wasn't the main six, and then a little filly. I don't know what this is about. I've managed to avoid spoilers completely, which I'm very happy for. So let's go ahead and dive in. Oh my gosh, I love this episode. I love this episode so freaking much. I love it. Oh my gosh. This just is such a sweet, warm episode. This is, okay, I'm saying right now, this is probably my most favorite episode of season. This is probably right now my most favorite episode of season 9. And this episode here is now one of my favorite episodes of the entire series. Just completely hooves down, it is. This episode has... Dang! This is not something that I would have anticipated from MLP. But they handled it incredibly well. They did such a great job. And honestly, I can't think of a character better that they could have worked that in other than Quibblepants. Like, I really don't think they could have worked in another character that would have been able to have done what was done in this episode. If they hadn't have put Quibblepants in here, if they hadn't have, like, they could have focused on any other character but Quibble. It just works. It just works. But I have never... This episode really... I've never seen... I mean, you know, you would think MLP would not touch upon a subject like this, but this episode was a pretty hard-hitting episode. Because it touched upon the subject of a guy who is in a relationship with someone who has most likely, it wasn't explicitly said, but it wasn't explicitly said what happened to the father here, but you could surmise it could be, you know, it's either a passing or divorce. I'd like to believe that it was probably divorce. It wasn't explicitly said, but this was a real and very heavy topic, in that Clear Sky and Wind Sprint are like kind of like the young family, and Quibble met her. He met Clear, and apparently they started dating, and I could tell the moment that I saw them, that I saw Wind, how she acted to Quibble, that it was a scenario where Quibble was trying to be a father figure to her. He was trying to be like a husband figure of sorts to Clear Sky, and a father figure to Wind. And Wind didn't want to really have anything to do with him, because she was afraid that Wind didn't want to forget about her dad. And it wasn't, like I said, it wasn't said in this episode what happened to him. But you can come up with your own theories. It wasn't explicitly said. They didn't use death or divorce in this episode as the cause for why the husband wasn't here. But they did it just enough to that you can come up with your own theories. You can develop your own theories about what happened. And the only episode of MLP that directly, or kind of indirectly, talked about death of sorts indiscreetly was the Thanks for the Memories episode, where Rainbow Dash went through the 5 stages of grief. And they've had they've had references before, with Applejack and Apple Bloom making a mention about their parents. And this episode here was a very heavy, I gotta say, episode, and very realistic. Quibble wanted to earn the appreciation of Windsprint because he had met Clear Sky and Windsprint, and apparently Windsprint and Quibble began dating. But Windsprint didn't want to have anything to do with him. I know some people would probably look at Windsprint and hate her because of the way that she acted, but it's nothing. Honestly, it's not new. It's honestly not something new. She's just a kid, and she's already had to go through losing a dad, either through death or through divorce. And so it's understandable that she would be bitter towards someone else who was now kind of coming into that territory and seemingly trying to take the place of her father, of what was her real father. It's not the first time. Like, realistically, I've seen this set up before, and it is realistic. She didn't want to forget about her dad, and Quibble tried so hard. He already had Clear Skies. Like, she already liked him, but Wind did not understand why her mom liked Quibble. She didn't understand why that he had to be a part of their family. And Quibble wanted to improve and get better so that he could earn the appreciation of Wind. And I've seen this setup before, and honestly, I gotta say, it's admirable that he wanted to do all of this so that he could be a part of that family. You know, it wasn't whatsoever that he didn't care. No, he wanted. And it shows, like, he wanted to be a part of that family. He and Clear already had a great bond between them. But he did not feel that Wind Spirit was opening up to him. And she wasn't. She wasn't whatsoever. But there were moments, of course, throughout the episode where you could see the connections already between Clear Sky and Quibble. Like whenever she just casually walks over here to this basket and begins helping him to get out of it. Like, she does it just so casually, like she's completely used to this sort of thing with him, and it shows just how much that she's used to that with him. And you can tell that they do have fun together. And I adore this little segment where she calls him Q. This conversation that she has here with him, where she basically tells him pretty much that he's trying too hard and that he just kind of needs to tone it down a bit. And she calls him Q. This is just a great moment. Primble tries teaching. She tries teaching Quibble to try to help him improve everything because they think that it will help. And like I said, he tries. He tries so much to try to impress. He tries so much to try to impress Wind. And, you know, Clear Sky, she's a mother. She had, you know, you don't mess with the motherly intuition. You don't do that. And she suspected that there was something going on. But Quibble he realized this segment. I mean, he realized that he was not capable of doing sports because he's not the athletic type. He doesn't have the knowledge. He doesn't have the physical attributes. He's not the sporty type. And this segment where he blows up at Rainbow Dash. For me, I can look at this from a psychological standpoint, and I can see a couple of different things going on here. There's a combination of both anger, and there's a combination of anger and hurt in what is going in his feelings here. This is a combination of anger. He's mad at himself because he's not the kind of dad that Wendy, he probably feels that he's not the kind of father that Wen deserves, and so he's mad at himself for not having the knowledge or the physical ability to be able to do sports. And he's angry because he wasn't able to learn. Right now he's probably angry at others. He's angry at the world right now, and he's just feeling like everything is just crashing down on him. He's also hurt because here he had a great relationship with Clear Sky, the possibility of having a family, and it's just all gone. He feels like a failure. He feels like just so low right now. And so whenever he blows up Rainbow Dash, all of these feelings are just melded together and just comes out as one big explosion. And like whenever he is yelling at her, Rainbow here, you can see the sweat running down his face. I think it's at this moment that you can really begin to see the break happening within him. You can see everything. This particular segment, however, this segment here where Clear Sky and Windsprint are having this conversation, this scene right here is one of my favorite moments in the show because of how it is handled, because of the execution of this scene. The music itself is just solid for this scene. It really adds a great atmosphere and feel to what is going on. You have this sort of a conflict here which is going on. You have Clear Sky and her daughter, Windsprint, and like a mother and daughter who have went through either a death or a divorce here. And now Quibble is possibly the husband, the father, and Clear Sky is willing to give him a chance. She's already given him a chance, and she sees a lot in him. She sees a lot in him that he probably doesn't see in himself. Windsprint, though, she doesn't want to forget about her dad, and she makes the remark that she doesn't want to forget about Dad. And she makes the remark that she doesn't want to forget about him. And Clear Sky tells her that she can have, and that's why that's why I'm more leaning towards the concept of divorce, but it could possibly also be death as well. Wind makes the mention that she doesn't understand what her mother sees in Quibble. This is honestly a realistic conversation here, where Clear Sky makes the remark that Quibble, he's kind, he's smart, and his friends care about him. And she adds, which is always a good sign. And this is a realistic take, on getting into a relationship. And she has already been with Quibble. She's seen him a lot. And Wind has went through, she's lost her dad, either through death or divorce. And she doesn't want to forget about him because that's her dad. And she doesn't want someone else coming in on that territory and trying to be her dad, whenever he's not the dad that she knew. And that's honestly a realistic thing. I have seen that set up before, but this is, and Clear Sky tells her that Quibble doesn't want Windsprint to stop loving her birth father, but just to give him a chance, like him as well. Not love him like she loved her dad, or loves her dad, but just, like him. And Clear Skies tells her that she's sure that she has enough room in her heart for both. And like I said, I'm certain that there are people probably in the fandom right now who can relate to this situation that in this episode. And Quibble comes up and begins to apologize for just the way that he acted and everything. And honestly, it's so cute here whenever Quibble says he's really not all that sporty, and just Clear Skies, like, I love how mature and intelligent that she is. Like, she's not completely dopey or just completely crazy. No, she's smart, she's sweet, and she's very knowledgeable on a lot of different things. She picks up on things quickly, and I love her character. I love Clear Skies. I love the way that her character was written, and I love who voiced her. I mean, like, the voice just fits. And also, Windsprint, again, just adorable. The character design for her too. The way that her character is written, the voice acting, again, the voice actresses for these two characters, and the way that this episode is just beautiful. I absolutely love this episode, and I love the voice acting for these characters. I mean, the voices just fit perfectly, and then the way that the characters are written are great. It's just beautiful, and Quibble just really fits. I mean, it just completely fits. So Quibble and Windsprint begin to bond, and she begins to open up to him and give him a chance, and I think she does begin to have some fun. And he's not her dad, but, probably going to be her stepdad. This scene as well was really mature and pretty heavy-handed. Whenever Quibble tells Clear Skies that he doesn't blame her if she wants to call it quits between them, considering what happened. And I love how she's just calmly sitting there sipping on like a Slurpee, and she's just looking confused. And here she confronts him about it, asking him, like, she was confused. Like, and I adore here how she had no intention. Like, she had no intention of breaking up with him or calling it quits. She had no intention whatsoever. It just, again, that's one of the things that I said before that I loved about Clear Skies, was how intelligent that she was. She picked up on it very quickly that Rainbow was helping him to try to improve his athletic ability so that he could impress Wind. And she caught up on it very quickly, and that was what she was referring to whenever she said that we need to call it quits on this. And Quibble thought that she meant break up, but I love it that she had no intention of breaking up with him all along. She had no intention. She had no intention of calling it quits because she likes him too much. And like I said, this is such a sweet episode. And I said that this is definitely a pretty hard-hitting, pretty heavy-handed episode, because it touches upon the subject of post-divorce. And I'm just going to say divorce. Again, it could be death, but it touches upon that subject where you have this little filly, you have this little girl that she misses her dad. She still wishes that the dad was still part of the family, but that is not happening. And she doesn't like Quibble because she feels that he's stepping in and trying to replace her father. And she doesn't want to forget her dad. she still wants him to be a part of the family, but like I said, he's not there now. And you have Clear Skies, and she wants her daughter to be open-minded and open her heart to others and to the person who may become a permanent fixture in their lives. And that, don't close herself off, don't shut herself away from others or from someone else who could be her dad. And here, Quibble, again, this is a very this is a very mature episode, and I love it. I absolutely love it. And there's some people I know that are probably saying, yo, this subject is too heavy for MLP. Yo, hey, if you want to think that, go right ahead. Be my guest. But this is one of my most favorite episodes of MLP in general. And this is one of those episodes that show how mature and heavy that the stories can be in MLP, and how well that they can flow, and how it can work in MLP. And this, like I said, Quibble had met Clear Skies, and he wanted to be a part of this family, but but the daughter was not accepting of him, because she still wanted her dad back. And so he was trying to do all of this stuff to try to win her over. He already had the mother's approval, but he did not have the daughter. And so he was trying to win her over and bending over backward just to try to do all this stuff just to impress her. And it took, and he wouldn't have done it naturally. I mean, honestly, the mother had to try to, help the daughter to understand that Quibble, she had to tell her what she liked about Quibble. Now, had Quibble not went through all this trouble and be open-minded and just been natural with Wind, it probably would have worked, yes. But I think it took, in a way, Quibble making a complete moron of himself, and to show the lengths that he was willing to go to. And he was trying too hard, yes, but he wanted to be a part of the family. And honestly, I can't fault him for trying so hard, because it showed how much that he wanted to be a part of their lives and how much he wanted them to be a part of his. And he wanted, he saw them as a family. I believe that. I believe that he saw them as a family. And maybe even had thoughts about the things like going on family picnics together, he and his daughter, he and this girl who would be his daughter, playing buckball or another sport together, and just the fun family outings that they could do together. And Quibble said that he's the happiest that he has been in a long time. And here he had found something that so few people actually do, which is love. I mean, he had found someone who accepted him for his dorkiness, for his geekiness, and Clear Skies was accepting of that, and she loved him. She loved that about him. He was kind, he was smart, and he was also kind to her daughter. And I think that later on, I think that Clear Skies possibly, while she does think that he went over the top, I think that she may also slightly admire how much that he was willing, how the lengths that he was willing to go. But I think that, here, this final scene with them, things are going to be okay. This took a moment of realization for all three of them. This was kind of a moment of realization for all three characters. It wasn't just Quibble. Clear Skies saw that her daughter was being closed-minded. She was closing herself off from others because she still wanted her dad. But Clear Skies told her that she didn't have to stop loving her dad, and that no one was trying to make her do so. And that she could still love her dad, but she could be open-minded and like someone else as well. And so she had to tell her daughter that. And I think she learned at that point, Clear Skies learned that her daughter was purposely closing herself off from others, and thus it was causing her to be bitter toward them. Quibble learned that he didn't have to try so hard to try to get Wynn's approval, and that he just kind of had to be himself and just, be natural, be kind, and be fun, and be funny. And Wynn also learned that she may not have her dad around anymore, but she will always love him, and that will never change. And that she can still like someone else, but she can still love her father. And even if she begins to love Quibble, even if she begins to love Quibble as a father, and even if later on he becomes her father, he becomes her stepfather, she'll still love her dad, her birth father. But she can still love Quibble, but in a different way than her other dad, And we don't know what went on. I mean, there's all kinds of possibilities, all kinds of conjectures that you can fathom as to what happened. Was it just a divorce? If the dad did decide to skip town and he took off, then I can understand it being very easy for Clear Sky to let him go. And the daughter, it will take her a little bit longer because she's not mature enough to understand about things like that just yet. But again, there's different theories, and I absolutely love this episode. This is one of my favorites, and I adore and so much admire how realistic that this episode was. It's cute. It's so cute in the use of the ponies of MLP, but the story that it tells is so deep. It's so touching and so natural and realistic. Honestly, it felt odd for me a couple of times watching this episode because I legit had to think to myself, this is MLP that is handling the subject. This isn't a show on some other network. This isn't something on Cartoon Network or any other show. No, this is My Little Pony Friendship is Magic that is handling the subject of a guy who is trying to win the admiration of a young woman and her daughter. He is trying to win the admiration so he can be a part of that family. And the daughter doesn't want to forget her dad. That's very heavy, honestly, to be a part of MLP. But it works. And this is one of those episodes that show how realistic that they can make the show. Some people, it's so funny. Honestly, if someone ever told me, if someone ever looked at me and said, "You watch My Little Pony?" Yeah, of course. I'm not ashamed to admit it. And they said, "Isn't that just like tea parties and such?" This is one of the episodes I would show them. This is honestly one of the episodes that I would show them and say, "Watch this episode and get back to me and tell me what you think afterward." There are several episodes that I would honestly recommend. This is one of those episodes. This is one of those episodes that I would recommend showing them and say, "Yeah, you think it's about tea parties and tea parties and slumber parties? Ha! Watch this episode and get back to me." This is a realistic episode, but it's done in a very cutesy way. And again, I'm very happy. I was very happy to see Quibble return. I'm very happy to see him return. Always love. It's always great. It's always great to hear Patton Oswalt as Quibble. It's always great to hear him. But honestly, the voice actresses for Clear Skies and Wind Sprint here are just fantastic. I mean, they really are. They did a fantastic job voicing these characters, and the voices fit perfectly with the characters, and the way they deliver their lines as these characters, it just fit. I mean, they really, every single line, personally, that they said, it really fit. It really did fit for the characters. It fit for every single moment that was, for the atmosphere, for every single scene. I loved it. It was great. And Quibble, Patton, he did a great job as well. And it was very different because, before, this was a very different take for him, because before, whenever we were introduced to Quibble and we heard Patton voice him, he was, he was kind of geeking out with Rainbow Dash about Daring Do, and we got to see the fan, the geek part of him. But here, this was a very different take, because here he got to play, in a cartoon, a guy that was wanting to be a part of this family and wanted these ponies, he wanted these people as his family. And he wanted to try to win the admiration of this little girl, because he felt that he needed her at her approval to be able to be more welcomed into this family so they could be a family. Honestly, I wonder what he thought whenever he read the script for this, the lines that he would be saying, and he realized what was going on in this episode. But yeah, it's a very different take for him, but he did fantastic. Like the lines that he delivered, as well as Quibble, and just how much that he wanted, again, how much that Quibble wanted to be a part of this family, and how much he wanted to try to impress Wind here. Like, again, he did a fantastic job. But I absolutely love this episode. I adore this episode so much. This is definitely one of my most favorite episodes of the whole show. It's such a sweet episode. It's warm-hearted. It's realistic. It's natural. But it's not over-the-top realistic. It's not overly the top realistic to the point of too much. It feels like real life. Like, it's just enough realism to that you really appreciate how realistic that it is. But it has enough fantasy in it that you have the comfort of believing that things are going to be okay in the end. And I love that aspect about it. And I really adore this episode. And I also really admire how far that Rainbow was also willing to go to try to help teach him, so that he could win the admiration of this little girl, and how determined that she was to try to help him as well. And it also shows how good friends that they are. Originally, they were kind of a bit at odds with each other over who was the biggest fan, but here, we actually got to see how much that she respected him, and how far that she was willing to go to help him. And this was a really, really great episode. And it furthered the development between Rainbow and Quibble, and it showed how close they are as friends and how much that they respect each other. And I really love it. I really do. But there were a few other things that I wanted to kind of go over with this particular episode. Was the fact that buckball has now become such a big thing. Before it was touched upon with buckball season, now it's grown into be a big, huge sport. And I just noticed Octavia in the background. I just noticed her. And I see Derpy's hair over here on the left, and we also see one of the friendship students here. And we see Raindrops right here as well. Derpy made it. Oh, wait. We got a pan. Yeah, we got Derpy. Derpy over here on the left in what looks like the cat in the hat. Yeah, we got Derpy. We got the Derpster. I also think it's great that Pinky and Fluttershy and Snips, I think, or Snails, I think. Well, particularly Fluttershy and Pinky are like the big VIPs here. And of course, little reference, Patton Oswalt, Quibble Pants, his pup tent here, his pitch tent has the icon, has Daring Do's cutie mark. So again, total geek here. I love it. I love it that he's still, part geek, or that he's still a geek. He's using his Daring Do tint. I love that. I love this little scene here with Clear Sky and Quibble. The understanding that she has with him, and the tolerance that she has with him. Like, she's very level-headed, she's very calm, and she's very tolerable about some things here. It's very sweet. It's very, very adorable. And I'm not going to deny, when here, her little, like, disgusted face is adorable. But honestly, I'm not going to deny this is me with my parents. I'm not going to deny that, and I'm not going to try to hide it. This is me with my parents. Even today. There are some things, regardless, no matter how old you get, really, there can be times for some people where seeing your parents act all lovey-dovey, it disgusts you, okay? And for me, I'm like Sprint here with my parents. Anytime I hear them interact with each other, just any bit like this, yeah, I'm always like, okay, I'm out. Like, this is me. This is totally me here. But I also adore this little scene where Quibble, like, just picks her up and puts her, like, on his back, on his shoulders. This is just such a sweet little scene. Like, this is so sweet. Okay, now I also know that there are people out there who totally hardcore shipped Rainbow and Quibble. And I won't deny whenever they were introduced, I kind of shipped them myself, although I still shipped more Rainbow and Soren. But I know some people are probably going to be upset because this ship is now just completely destroyed. Like, it went down like the Titanic. But honestly, I'm not disappointed, because I love the new characters here, and I love the fact that Quibble is happy now, and that he has some pony. He has some pony that loves him, that he cares about as well, and now he's got a family, or he's definitely got a very great potential for it, and I love it. And I'm not disappointed. And I think it's great that we see the development of the friendship between Rainbow and Quibble. And like I said, I love the interactions between, like, I adore the interactions between Clear Sky and Quibble. Just here, he has this expression like it happened again. I'm sorry. Like, on his face, he has this embarrassed look, but she's just very understanding, very calm. She accepts it. She just casually, like it's an everyday thing, just helps him out of this. She doesn't say anything. She just smiles, like no big deal. I love this. It's so cute. It's so sweet, again, and very comical. Like, this seems like a natural little family here, you know? Like, this seems like a very natural little family. And I just noticed the tea shop pony in the background here. She's back. And again, this little scene where she calls him Q. She doesn't call him Quibble. She calls him Q, like her little pet name for him. She calls him Q, and she tells him, "Don't try so hard. Everything's going to be okay." And call it woman's or mother's intuition. But yeah, I really adore. I adore the interactions between Quibble and Clear Sky here. It really works with them. And, like, it's just such a sweet thing. It really is. And like I said, one other scene I really liked was this panning scene where the camera was moving to the side, where it's showing Rainbow. Instead of just remaining stationary, the camera panned to the side a little bit in a more atmospheric signature move. And this face. Yeah, I can see Rainbow giving Soren this face, like, okay, I challenge you to a game of buckball, one-on-one. If you lose, you take me out on a date, yo. If I lose, I take you out on a date. Yeah, I can see that. But again, I absolutely love this episode. This is such a sweet, warm little episode. It's adorable. It's just so sweet. It's just, I love it. This is one of my most favorite episodes. And it's so cool that, like I said, I've never seen MLP do something like this, with something like this before with the story. It basically referenced the idea of a sort of kind of maybe reference that of divorce, and it not actually explicitly say that, but here you have a guy who's trying to win the admiration of the daughter. And like I said, this is not the first time that I've seen this setup. There's been a few other times I've seen this setup before in something else, but um, for MLP, it works. It really does work. It worked great in this, and I absolutely love this episode. And this is definitely one of my most favorite episodes of the whole show. This is one of my favorite episodes, top favorite episodes of all the seasons. This is one of my top favorite episodes right here. And considering this is the final season, I don't think we'll see Quibble anymore. So to see this episode with him, I honestly can say I think this was a really great send-off. I think that this was a great send-off episode for Quibble. As a final episode to possibly see him. This was a great episode. It really was. I have to say, I think this was a great episode. It showed the development between him and Rainbow, how close friends they are, and then it also showed Quibble now having someone in his life that he really cares for, and now has the potential to have a family, and someone, and it's not the setup where he has to change himself, where like he has to give up his geekdom. No, he's still a hardcore geek like he was before, and Clear Skies totally accepts that about him, which is one of the things I really love and admire about this, is how accepting of and tolerant that she is, and level-headed and mature and intelligent that she is. And it's a very sweet relationship, and I just adore it so much. But again, I gotta say, for the final episode, probably to feature Quibble, honestly, to me, this was a perfect episode to send him off with. This was a perfect episode. And again, to everybody that worked on this episode, to the writers for writing this episode, to the voice actors and voice actresses in this episode, to everybody, thank you all so much for this fantastic episode. Thank you so much for this wonderful episode. This was a great episode. I absolutely loved it. Thank you all so much. Thank you. And thank you guys again for joining me as well. I hope you guys enjoyed. And let me know what you guys think in the comments below. And thanks again for joining me. And hopefully I'll see you guys in the next video that I do. Take care.